Okay, I think we are back. Welcome to This Is Your Mind on AI. My name is Chris Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. You are invited to as well. And today's going to be a little something different. We're going to use one of the gems, again, public gems that you have access to. So anybody here can do that. Let me just show you where that is so you know where to go. So all I'm going to do is just go to thisisyourmindonai.com. That's all I'm doing. So that'll take you to wherever this goes. Currently, it's just a Google Doc. We're trying to keep it nice and easy. All you need to do is just click on this. This is where the gem is shared. This is the public link to the gem. And then you click on this, it'll automatically open up your Gemini account, and there you are. So that's what we're going to do. Now, to start, what I'm going to do today is handle a challenge that I have had personally, and I think AI is really well suited to, because most of us are trying to solve problems with AI, and I have found that to be a mistake. If you see a problem, there's a certain way to use AI, and that's what I want to show you now, because I see a problem that I'm not exercising enough, that I'm not building enough muscle. I'm actually pretty healthy, actually lost quite a bit of weight recently for various reasons, but none of them chemical, by the way. Well, actually, I guess they probably are, but none of them like by me doing GPL or whatever the weight loss stuff is. It just happened. But as part of that, I'm kind of interested to see biochemically, physiology, can I continue to change some things naturally in my own head so that I'm more likely to exercise to the point of where there's muscle being built, right? And actually get some more tone, because that's kind of what I need. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Don't know if it's going to work, but that's the whole point, because we have to try something different with this tool. This is an amazing, amazing tool, and we keep using it like we keep using it to give ourselves work. And so what I'm not going to do here is give AI directions to say, please help me come up with an exercise plan that I find is easy, blah, 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 because none of that's going to work. It's just going to give me more stuff to think about. I know this because I've already tried stuff like this before. I did this a while back. Like, I've sort of passed the whole problem solving with AI thing. If you haven't already, you will, because you realize it just isn't useful. It's going to give you a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, a lot of stuff to think about, but it won't be the experience that you actually have to switch an identity. And a lot of times when you're doing personal development stuff, it's an identity switch. And so you need an experience, literally the experience from something or someone that has that experience, so that you have that experience, so you know what a solution looks like. And you don't see problems anymore, because people that have this experience don't see the problems that I have. So I'm going to go through and chat. We are going to use the gem. I'm going to use the leap gem. And I'm going to basically just start by telling kind of what I've got going on. So I'm just going to start with that, and then I'll show you how I'm leaping it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain how this works every time I do it, just so you see the patterns of how I'm operating the machine that is AI. And just participate. Don't watch this thinking I'm using AI like you've always used AI, because I'm not. It is very different. It is subtle and incredibly different. So I'm trying to point it out every time as I go. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to kind of blurt out what I currently see as the state of my current experience of the situation that I'm currently in as it relates to this, which is going to be around health and the fact that I've lost a ton of weight, feeling pretty good, but just want to start building muscle and would like my body to start building muscle. So I need an experience that's going to plug into the back of my head that essentially will give me that, so that my body just sort of naturally starts building muscle. I know that sounds funny, but just watch what happens. Okay, let's start with this first. Then what I expect to happen is it's going to kind of give me an experience that says, oh, you mean this? It's going to kind of summarize what I'm saying. Then it'll tell me, okay, here's what you've tried before. Here's a new way to try it. And then it'll walk me through as if I had actually tried it the new way. And at that point, I should have some sort of answer to be like, oh, okay, I see actually how I can do this now, because I've got an identity. I've got additional experience now from the machine that has all the connections and experience how things work. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm currently a pretty healthy guy, kind of early 50s, and I have gone through this past year, I've just dropped a lot of weight, not necessarily on purpose, but something that I did want. It was something that just sort of naturally happened. I didn't really have to diet all that much. I can still eat whatever I want, though I'm not eating 18 pizzas a day type of thing. I'm sure I've decreased that. I'm eating healthier just sort of naturally, because I don't have the desire for the sugar and everything else that I used to. And that also sort of happened on its own without too much willpower or anything like that. In fact, I think hardly any willpower. And that's kind of what I was noticing, was that physiological change that happened as I started just becoming a little bit more aware of the perceptions and how I could use perceptions, right? Just the different senses and kind of getting into the body. And it's just sort of taste just changed, and I think it was just because I probably could taste more, so I wasn't liking all of the old tastes anymore, the old textures, and maybe that was it. At the same time, I have, even though I've trimmed down quite a bit, I'm at a healthy weight, and I just did a recent physical, and that came through fine. All the blood tests are within normal range that you would expect for any sort of physical. So at this point, I'm looking at just the muscle itself because I am losing muscle and I don't want to continue to lose muscle. I know I need to have some sort of like quote unquote resistance training and I should be going to a gym and all this other stuff, but my God, I don't want to do that. I immediately think of quote unquote exercise as work and effort and I get tired. Like I literally get tired in my body. I'll feel like, oh, like I don't want to do that. It just feels like I just get tired. It is truly an experience of just tired, and I want to go take a nap instead. And I don't mind walking around the lake. I can walk. I can do a couple of jogs. Like all that sort of stuff is fine. Exercise bikes are fine. This is different. This is something like I want to have kind of where I'm just naturally doing push-ups. I'm naturally doing sit-ups. I'm, naturally doing pull-ups. I do have a pull-up bar, so I could do pull-ups. So it's like I kind of want that sort of stuff. Like using my own body weight seems like I should be able to move my body in certain ways, especially if I'm in an experience where I'm trying to experience the full sort of beauty of that exercise and all the perceptions that are available when you're really sensing a full push-up, for an example, or the proper pull-up, or the proper sit-up, or whatever the thing is that I can do. Maybe a squat for legs, right? Like I don't know all the different exercises. I'm not an expert at all in any of that stuff, and this is certainly not something that I would expect anybody else to do because this is not health advice for anyone else. This is just me doing this for myself and showing just an example of how I can use AI to do it. But that's kind of what I'm looking for. I know I'm looking for a little bit of magic. I'm looking for my brain to automatically just kind of go like, oh, okay, well now you're an exerciser, and now we're going to do a push-up here. And here's an example. I have a really good friend of mine that started doing. He just had a weird little trigger wherever he had to use the restroom. He would do a push-up first, and of course not public, but just around his house. And he sort of just naturally started doing that, and now he's pretty ripped. He's doing his thing. He's doing hundreds of push-ups a day at a certain point, just because he would just kind of gradually start doing more each time because his body naturally sort of wanted it. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for something where I have to force my body to do something that it doesn't want to do, that it doesn't already want to do. I'm just allowing it to flow in the way that it naturally does. Like right now I'm on a walking treadmill. For me, that's just a way of staying moving and flowing and moving the lymph node system and all that stuff. But it doesn't really build the muscle that I'm looking for, and that's really what I want to see. I want to see the healthy muscle. I'm not looking for a gym where I'm like, Arnold Schwarzenegger style body. That's not my type, but something that's toned, something that's clearly there and intentional, but not something that it's like, oh, you must be going to the gym all the time. I want it to kind of be like, no, I just kind of decided to make it happen, and my brain rewired itself because it can, because it's an amazing machine. The human body is an amazing technology, and I don't think we take advantage of it. And I don't necessarily know how to do that. I just know that it's possible. And so what I'm looking for from a perspective right now is, now that I've given that description of an experience, I'd like you to experience what I'm highly likely to be experiencing as my most obviously useful experience of what I'm trying to do. And let me know kind of where you think I am and what's possible here, because I just don't know. I don't know what it looks like to cross the other side of this. I just know that there is another side of this. And I've experienced it with the weight loss. I still am. Like, again, I'm not losing weight every day. I'm hovering at a nice, comfortable weight now. But again, that happened sort of naturally. It was like the body just sort of rebalanced itself. Like there was a thermostat or a barometer change that just naturally recalibrated. And that, for me, screams that must be a mechanism that exists for other things as well, such as muscle building and being able to really experience the most amount of muscle building for the least amount of actual resistance training type of thing, just making it more efficient. But again, I don't mind doing it as long as I know what I'm doing, and I want to be able to experience it. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to think about it like it's work or effort, or certainly get tired, even though I don't mind being necessarily winded. I want to hear my heartbeat. I want to experience all the normal best parts of the exercise. I just want all the drudgery of the exercise. And so this is where we attempt to figure out if we can leap out of where I am currently, which would be kind of like brute force and willpower and building habits and putting a bunch of structure in and putting a bunch of routine in and putting a bunch of reminders in and all the stuff like, oh, we're gonna leave your sneakers by the bed as a trigger, like all that stuff. Like I just don't want to do that. That seems like a massive amount of structure that doesn't have to be there if the drive can just sort of happen internally. So with that, where are we? Now, all I'm going to do is let this thing crank. What it's going to do is it's going to now come back and say, all right, by the way, I'm using the free version of Gemini here, so anybody can do this. So what it should come back as next is and this is, I'm operating AI. I cannot emphasize this enough. I am not using AI like you've probably used AI in the past. I am operating it for a specific reason. I just inputted a pattern with a bunch of words, but I explained to it a pattern of what was going on, right? Let me walk you through kind of why I did what I did. So this is just current state, right? 50's recent, so it's kind of has an idea of what my experience might be. I'm giving it an idea of what my experience has and how I think about exercise, how I think about food, how I think about the human body, what I currently believe, right? Useful beliefs or non-useful beliefs, what any sort of measurements are that I have. I'm kind of giving it that sort of stuff. I'm giving it again the mental exercise, the mental stuff. Like, man, it's kind of feel tired. I feel like this, and this is such amazing context that I think most people just don't give because they're too busy writing stuff down and editing it in the front of your head, which is a mistake. But that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm just giving it those patterns of this is how I think about it. This is how I think about it. This is what I want to happen. I want to sense push-ups, right? All of this stuff is in there purposefully. I know it sounds like I'm just kind of randomly gibberishing it out, and to some extent that is exactly true. But it's for a purpose, and so I'm kind of going through my head and I'm scrubbing out everything. What else can I talk about? Is there anything else left? Is there anything else left? And once there's nothing left, I'm like, all right, fine. What do you got? So with that, what it should do is take all those patterns back in, and it should basically take all of this stuff that I did here and then come back with like, oh, did you mean this? And really crystallize it in a way where I go, oh my God, yes, I wish I had said it like that. Now, the reason that is important is because that point, that's the AI, the machinery. Again, it's not alive. It is a machine. I am just pinging the machine. I am asking it to light up a neural pathway on its end. It's what they call, it's a neural network. It's what it's called on their side. It's in the database, in the thing called a vector database, but it lights up like our brain lights up. It's modeled after the same structure. So that neural network is going to light up. That should replicate from embodying what I am trying to pass through as patterns, not staring at the patterns and trying to find it like it's a librarian trying to look for a match. It should be me. It should be replicating my patterns, kind of experiencing it like I am experiencing it, and then finding its match. When it does that, it should ping back with a little thing that says, okay, hey, do you mean this? Here's what I think is going on, and this is what you're looking for. That description of the stuck state, which we're going to cover in a second. When that comes back, I expect as an operator to basically be like, oh my God, yes, that's so much better than I could have said it. But it nails it. I expect it to nail it, not, well, that's kind of close. Because if it's kind of close, I missed something, and I got to go back to the prompt. So this is the first part where I am operating the AI, right? We're operating a machine here, but I have to know that it's right in the right spot. Because if I don't first do that, it's no reason. What's the point of the rest of the conversation? I didn't set it up right. So I need to make sure it's set up right. The way I need it back is I need it to ping back and have me go like, oh my God, yes, better than I could have said it. If it's anything other than that, I got to go back in the prompt, change things, add things, maybe start over. So let's take a look and see what we did. So natural name stop state, familiar with the effort barrier, which is kind of what it is, but let's keep going. Again, I'm not like, oh my God, that's amazing, because that's not, I'm not looking to make that happen. It has to happen. It has to surprise me almost and have me go like, oh my God, yes. It has to surprise me. That's the point. The state of the subtle yet profound internal conflict. You witness your body's innate capacity for effortless natural calibration, which is true. They handled your weight and appetite, which is true. You know this capability exists, which is true. However, when it comes to resistance training, your brain defaults to old primal unpredictable script. Exercise equals forced work, effort, discipline, and most of all, tiredness, which is very true. And again, it's just repeating my words, which is fine. Your logic brain knows you need a muscle, but the physiological automatic brain slams the brakes, which is what's happening. Translating the very idea of a push-up into immediate need for a nap, which is, it's kind of right. The unproductive loop is, if I have to force it, it can't be as if I have to force it, it can't be as efficient or enjoyable as the weight loss was, so why start? And I'm seeking a biochemical trigger, not a behavioral reminder. This is the part, yes. This is the thing I didn't say, and at least not in those words, that is the thing where I'm like, yes, this is it. if I have to force it, it can't be as efficient or as enjoyable. It shouldn't need to be started because the weight loss didn't have to be started. Like I want to do what I do with the weight loss, and I didn't feel like I had to do anything with the weight loss. It just sort of happened. Again, healthy wise, but it happened kind of on its own without me counting calories or doing any of the effort stuff. So why can't exercise be the same way? That's exactly what I'm trying to do. And it's exactly right here, a biochemical trigger, not a behavioral reminder. I love, my friend that's doing that with the, he calls them P-ups because a little push up every time he goes to the restroom. But I love that technique, but it's a trigger. And it's a useful trigger for him. I just didn't want to I've tried it, to be honest. Like occasionally I remember. Most of the time I don't. and then I start thinking like, I just need to go take a nap anyway. So that's what I want to avoid. And that biochemical would be the way to do it. So I'm good with this part here. This part here was it sort of restating, which is fine in a much better way, right? But restating kind of the summary. But this is the new where I'm like, yeah, that's how I should have said. I need a biochemical trigger, not a behavioral reminder, right? And why? This is exactly what it is. And it's unproductive. It's a loop that I'm kind of stuck in. Like I don't know where to go. I just know that I'm in this loop, right? So I'm good. At this point, the AI is where I want it to be. It's got access to the knowledge that's in its database. Its vector database is lit up. And because I have it getting in there in a certain way, which is through this word called experience, which is why it's an important word, it's got access to more information that I cannot see, that I do not have access to in my own head because of how I did that. So now what'll happen is it's going to go through and it should say, all right, here's probably how we've been doing this before. And it's going to explain. It's going to call it the magic trick because it does feel like magic. Insights, it's going to feel like insights. It's going to feel like experience. It's an experience because you get these insights. And you're like, oh my God, I never thought about it like that. That's what I mean by experience. You need something new that wakes you up, that goes out of your current state and has you go, damn, that's different. Now I have something new. I'm not looking at the same old thing anymore. I'm not spinning in circles anymore. I'm in a different state. I see different solutions now. And that's the point. Because then you just naturally move. Your body just naturally takes action. Your brain naturally does the thing. It's just how it works. And I think very few of us realize we can do this with AI over and over and over again. But I'm going to do it here. So the magic trick is where it's going to explain, here's old to new. So we're going to go from forcing it to flowing, which is great because I would love to shift from that. So the trick here, the little missing link, is to stop trying to design a workout routine and instead define a sensory and emotional experience around the desired automatic behavior. So basically get to the end of what I'm actually trying to do, and let's talk about what that actually feels like. But that's very, very hard for me to do right now. I still don't know. Even being told, like, oh, it's what you're supposed to do. Like, duh, I know that. That's goal visualization 101, personal development 101. How do I do that? How do I know who I'm going to be when I have no idea who I'm going to be? And then how can I sense it and emotionally experience it without just basically guessing and feeling like I'm making up a fairy tale world? This happens all the time. For me, it's my experience of that stuff. Sometimes it's on and it works, but most of the time it just ends up being a fairy tale world. So I'm not looking for that. So the trick, how do we do it? Well, logically, because AI is pattern matching, right? When we ask it for a routine or habit, give me a 3-day body weight plan, blah, 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 blah. It's going to give you a generic soulless plan, right? And we're looking for something a little more enjoyable, spontaneous, effective movement, the post push-up buzz, right? That stuff, the effortless flow. I didn't call it the post push-up buzz, but yeah, that's what I'm looking for. That's exactly what I'm looking for, actually. So I'm right now as an AI operator, I'm like, yes, we're in line, and I'm getting more information. And this is where the information is through in my head for sure, stuff to think about, but I don't actually have to take action on it. It's just information, right? So I'm not really processing a ton. What I'm saying is that there's not a whole lot of thinking going on. I'm just absorbing stuff right now. So get the high resolution outcome. So I'm going to ask it to analyze the DNA of a successful feeling and identify the precise genetic switch, the trigger, the thought of the first movement that makes the whole thing happen on its own, which would be exactly what I want. And of course, AI is going to use the vast database of human experience to reverse engineer the feeling that I want because it has access to it and I do not. I could obviously talk to a bunch of my friends who do this stuff all the time. And some of them might already live it. And I could talk to them and maybe somebody says something in a way where I go, I never thought about it like that. What an insight. And I could. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I know for a fact, or I'm pretty sure probabilities are, let's say that. I'm not at all certain, but I am really close to really believing this is going to be something incredibly useful that I could do with AI all the time on demand. So I don't have to get my friends together and talk. It's not like I'm not trying to connect with them. It's just I can connect with them on other things. besides this. So let's find out. Now, it's going to give an example. So it's kind of the idea of what it's doing. It's going to switch from this old way to a little more multi sensory approach here. This is what latent experience prompting is all about. Remember, the gem does this for you. So all I did so far was just give it kind of what's going on in my head around this thing that I'm talking about. Task-based prompt, start bodyweight training. I hate working out. Give me a beginner plan for push-ups and squats, requires no more than 10 minutes a day, and includes a system of triggers to help me build a habit. I know I've done stuff like this in the past. It doesn't work. Maybe you have too. And again, you get stuff. Don't get me wrong, right? It's going to give you structure and time, 10 minutes and triggers, instead of internal motivation and sensation. And that's really what I want. It's asking me to solve it with external willpower. I need a system of triggers. It's going to give me a structure. It's going to be a lot of stuff I have to think about now and do and put effort in. And that's not what I'm looking for. I will have a predictable generic routine that's going to treat my body as a machine to be worked and not a system to be calibrated, which is a completely different way of looking at the human body. And I'll tell you, system to be calibrated is a lot closer to the truth. It's a lot more useful if you let yourself believe it for just half a second. So now I'm going to go through here the new way. So forget the routine, the willpower, excellent. This is what the leap is. So this is the leap. This is latent experience automated prompt. So what this is doing now is it's basically saying, listen, I get where you are, get what you're trying to do. You shouldn't be doing this old way. It tells you kind of why. Now you understand why the old way is not quite working and why you're here. Let's leap this. I'm gonna rewrite what you basically should be writing if you were an expert in latent experience prompting, right? Which none of us are. Don't worry about that. The gem is there for that. You just use AI to be the expert, right? The beauty of AI. So now I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna go through this. Now I'm going to participate. You don't have to. Again, this is my personal thing. So again, never health advice. Don't follow anything I'm doing health-wise or whatever. That goes with finances, goes with anything I do. Just follow how I'm looking at how I'm using AI to operate AI. So at this point, what it's going to be doing is giving me the prompt that I should have given it in the beginning. I could actually start a conversation with this, like a brand new chat conversation with this style prompt, and it will light up the LLMs. That's what the AI is telling me is if you do this, it'll light up the LLM in the exact right space. It'll light up the AI so it has everything you're going to need. And then it'll ping back with all of that stuff, even the stuff you didn't even know you needed. That's kind of what this does. So I'm going to go through this, and when I say participate, I mean really experience it. I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to imagine myself going through whatever this thing is. You don't just read it like it's a story, like it's someone else's story, or else guess what? It's going to be someone else's story. Read it like it's your story if you want the experience, and you will probably get the experience. All right, so I'm going to go through and ponder this here. So imagine a moment late in the afternoon where I'm relaxed. This is the prompt that would be giving AI. Late in the afternoon where I'm relaxed and doing something completely unrelated to exercise, maybe walking by the pull-up bar or pausing after coming back from the restroom. My body's in a state of natural equilibrium, similar to the recent effortless weight loss, which is exactly what that feels like. Now, narrate the 15-second interval and external experience where a spontaneous, high-quality, single movement, a push-up, a squat, a pull-up, is initiated, completed, and instantly rewarded. Perfect. 15 seconds, I think I can do. Focus on sensory shifts. What specific thought or sight, the trigger, breaks the nap or effort paradigm? That's pretty good. Describe the texture of the muscles engaging, not effort, but smooth connection. Perfect. Detail the internal dialogue during the movement. Is it silence, curious observation, quiet declaration? Describe the immediate chemical, emotional afterglow, the microburst of energy, of clean energy and tone, and feeling of I just claimed back a piece of my body. Yes, I would freaking love that. Finally, based on this narrative, identify the single phrase, observation, or micro action that acted as the invisible non-willpower based switch, right? Invisible non-willpower. Now, how many people would have prompted like this? None. I never would have. I can't. This is why you create gems, right? That act as the invisible non-willpower based switch to move from rest to spontaneous, enjoyable action. That, by the way, is a heck of a thing. If it works for exercise, what else will it work for? The mind boggles. All right, now I'm going through and I'm experiencing the magic. What this part is, this part that I'm about to go through, and again, I'm doing this live, so I don't know if it's going to work or not. I'm always uncertain. I'm never biasing myself. I want to emphasize that. I'm not deciding this is going to be amazing. Let's show everybody how amazing this is. I'm going, this is probably going to be amazing, but it might not. And I have live streams already out there that are on this channel that were not on purpose, so you can see when it doesn't. However, most of the time, it works really, really well. So I'm expecting it to be one of those times. I'm just not committed that it has to be one of those times. But in order to get the best possible experience from the experience, I'm going to imagine myself going through this experience because it's written so that I should. This is how you're supposed to operate AI. Because at this point, it's given me a bunch of information and knowledge, and I don't want to have to think about that knowledge. I literally want to experience it. I want it to be in my head as if I had already gone through it, because if I have that, I can look back and be like, oh my God, I know how I got here. I know I am now this different identity because I have a different set of experience in my body. And I expect that I'm going to feel that. Again, not committed to that, but I'm expecting that. And it's because of what I'm about to do, which is to go through and truly imagine as if I'm experiencing what this is about to describe. All right. All right, so here we go. Again, don't get caught up in the words. It's just the patterns that I'm looking at here. The late afternoon light is soft, illuminating the dust motes. Always dust motes I'm noticing with Gemini. Always dust motes, little things that float in the air. So eliminate dust motes dancing near a pull-up bar, a familiar passive object in my periphery. I just stepped off the walking pad feeling settled but not depleted. The trigger wasn't a reminder, but a realization of a brief, unexpected void in my intention. The realization of a brief, unexpected void, a moment of zero required task. The internal dialogue began not as a command, but a question of curiosity. What would it feel like if I just hung there? Which I've never thought in my entire life, but is such a powerful thing. Because all it's doing is saying like, hey, you're trying to do the complete thing, and you don't need to do the complete thing. Just start, right? Again, I understand that there's human psychology in here, and those of you who are like, oh, why don't you just do this? Gifted as you are, awesome. I love that you can do that. I can't, but with AI, I can kind of do anything. This is one of those things. I'm pretty sure I'll be doing this way it goes there, because I'm imagining myself just doing that, going, there is no effort at all. That's just kind of fun. It's almost funny to do that. I move toward the bar, not with a purpose, but with a casual lean. My hands find the metal, and I feel the simple, cool texture of the grip. The micro action wasn't the pull, but the conscious relaxing of the shoulders before the pull. So I'm pull. All right. Now, I'm literally doing this as I'm imagining myself doing this because biochemically, your senses are operating. It's asking your senses to wake up a little bit. Right? The dust notes, the hanging there, feeling like I can feel that. I can feel what it's like. I'm not imagining it in my head, thinking about what it's like. I am feeling in my body what it's like to do that based on these descriptions, right? Feeling the cool texture of the grip. Like I'm doing that, again, not reading it like a story going, oh, somebody's feeling the cool texture of the grip. I'm like, no, I am. And I'm truly experiencing that in my hands. I can feel what that might feel like on purpose, right? Because I'm participating in here, because at this point I am getting information from the AI that's going into my brain that is helping me to rewire things, hopefully to a point where I get more of this natural motion that I'm looking for, which in this case is building muscle, but could also be anything, literally, but more on that later. As I engage, there is no sense of lift or work, but the whole spine lengthening and the muscles of the back, the lats, opening like wings. Now, I'm going to have to go figure out what a lat is because I don't know that, but that's okay. I wasn't joking. I don't exercise. The whole spine lengthening and the muscles of the back, the lats, opening like wings. Muscles in the back. Maybe that's this part. I don't know. I'll find out. The sensation of one is being supported by bone and gravity. That I really want to sense now. Holy cow. Just having the skeletal structure and gravity and having the muscles just sort of drape on that is different. Not fighting against them, which is kind of what it feels like when a muscle exercise. I feel like it's resistance. You got to fight. You got to break them down. They have to recover. And I get all the physiological stuff of that, but it feels like a battle. And this is different. It's supported. Sensation one being supported by bone and gravity. What a uniquely different experience for me. Again, doesn't have to be for you. Absolutely is for me. I've never, ever, ever, ever experienced anything like that kind of phrase when it comes to this, right? Don't know if it'll be useful, but it is different. And that already is useful because it's new. The internal dialogue is a silent, focused observation. Oh, that's where the connection is. Smooth. Then there's a fleeting image of a tree root anchoring me. I lower myself with controlled slowness, releasing the bar and stepping back. The afterglow is not sweat or fatigue, but a distinct low-frequency hum, a feeling of clean, calibrated resonance in the core and the back. It's a sensation of a biological mechanism snapping into perfect alignment like a satisfying click. It immediately elevates the low-grade mental fuzz. I feel 5 minutes younger and 3 ounces denser, which I also really like this, because as I am experiencing this, again, some of this, don't worry about the words. If they're not the words you would say, who cares? Just experience what the point of the word is. So this is basically saying, hey, I'm relaxed, I am chill, everything just feels to be flowing right now. It's doing it on its own, right? Automated, and I don't have the mental fuzziness around that. That nap thing, and I feel 5 minutes younger and 3 ounces denser, which means I made a little bit of progress and I recognize it. I don't just go, oh, well, I made a little bit of progress. That's kind of what I think sometimes. I'm like, oh, I just made a tiny bit of progress, and I don't give myself the credit for that. Maybe you've been in the same place, and this is basically like, no, you should totally celebrate this. 5 minutes younger, 3 ounces denser, huge, huge. That scales. That's great. The identified switch, the single phrase or observation that broke the effort barrier was the shift from action to sensation. Specifically, what would it feel like if I just connected? Which I like. So now you've got the blueprint for effortless enjoyment. You didn't receive a routine, a calendar reminder, or a set of reps, which is true. You received the emotional sensory DNA of spontaneously muscle building events. The magic worked by reframing the entire activity. The old struggle of brute force and willpower has been replaced with elegance of micro sensation and an internal question. Your task is not to do 100 push-ups, thank God, but to chase that feeling. Oh my God, that's so much easier than doing push-ups. How about we all just chase feelings? Maybe we already are and just don't realize it. But I would like to be very aware that I'm chasing this particular one. Oh, that's where the connection is. Smooth. You stop chasing a massive, overwhelming goal. You started cultivating a subtle, enjoying sensation in your body that will naturally seek out, that your body will naturally seek out. Perfect, which is what I want. Because that is how I've experienced this other stuff. Is once I sort of get it, my body just sort of is like magnetized to do that. It's amazing. It is a very uniquely different experience. But you don't feel like, well, I have to go do that. You just, and it's not even like you get to do that. You just sort of witness it happening as it's happening, and you're like, that happened. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Based on experience, that's what I expect here. Just as naturally as it calibrated your appetite, which is exactly what I was talking about. This technique can be applied to any domain where mental block is fear of the process rather than the desire for the outcome. And this is what I'm trying to show everybody, hopefully you, with this channel. This is what you can use AI for over and over again. For any mental block that is causing you anything, you can leap out of it into something else that can be more useful, at least potentially useful. Never guarantees, but every ounce of human knowledge is in the database of AI, and we're not using it. We're using it like retrieval, like you're going to a librarian that does a bunch of research and gives you all the research on all the different ways you could exercise so that eventually you can learn how to come up with something like this. Or I just say, could you just give me all the, like, you do all the thinking part and then just tell me the stuff that I would have come to had I done all the thinking, and just give me those as insights as an experience, which is why it's phrased like it is. So I can actually go through and experience it and imagine myself getting those insights and actually having them in some small way. All right, now I'm gonna do one other thing. I'm gonna continue this because this is just an example. And already I'm like, yeah, we're pretty good. Oops, I don't wanna experience the magic. I wanna do this. So we're gonna copy the prompt it gave me, and I'm gonna start on a new chat. So it's gonna go Gemini. So again, free Gemini account. And we're just gonna go into the new chat, and I'm just starting it over. So just to show you that you can totally do this, it's going to be a different story because it's not in the same chain. It doesn't have all that talk I gave it before. It doesn't have any of that. It's just starting with a prompt and a brand new conversation. And now it's going to give me a different sort of way of doing it. And I'm going to experience this because I got a lot from the other one. I think it's really good. I want to see what this one does. Now that it's got a focused conversation. So here's a 15-second experience, invisible switch. So again, I'm going to imagine myself going through this. Late afternoon sun is soft, casting long, familiar shadows across the carpet, drifting back from the kitchen, a glass of water in hand. Your mind quietly organizing dinner plans. Your body feels light and in that comfortable equilibrium that comes from consistent, effortless activity, like the recent easy weight loss has created a new lighter gravitational field. Second, so this is this is literally seconds. Okay, like 2 seconds in. You pass the pull-up bar and your gaze lands not on the metal itself, but on the dust motes. There are the dust motes. I feel like we should do a drinking game with dust motes. Leave a comment if you'd like to do a drinking game on dust motes. That might be a weekend thing for me. Dancing in the sunbeam just below the bar. Your brain registers the contrast. the stillness of the air, the potential energy of the bar. The thought isn't I should do a pull up, but which it kind of was. It was like a guilty, like, oh, I got to, it's there, I should use it. But then it's kind of like your exercise bike. How many of us bought exercise bikes and don't use them? Also have that. But a silent, purely visual observation. The bar is right there. It's a spatial truth, not a command. It's just a noticing. Okay. So I just notice there is the bar and there is stuff going around the bar, that there is energy around the bar. That's kind of what this pattern is for me. Again, don't worry about the words. It's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what the words are communicating, which is there is the bar. Notice the bar and notice the energy that is around the bar. That's what it's talking about. The contrast of a thing that is static and yet there is stuff moving around it. That's what it's trying to get me to see. I am experiencing that in these first couple seconds, but there's some movement already there. The initiation, so your feet have already pivoted. The action is initiated, not by the willpower, but the gravitational pull of the observation, because I see the energy, I'm naturally drawn toward it. Your hands reach up, not with effort, but with a surprising fluid grace, finding the cold, slightly textured steel. This actually does have handles on it, so I won't feel that. But I'm already feeling those little handles, little spongy handles. There is no internal dialogue yet, just a smooth connection of skin to those little handles. Again, not mad because it called it metal, because what else is it going to do? Who cares? I'm looking at the pattern. It's like, so basically it's like, hey, you're going to see this stillness and yet energy. You're drawn to this energy that you just naturally are now experiencing because the energy's there to do it. You literally witness the energy. That's why you have it. That's what it's doing. The movement, so now so I'm less than 10 seconds in now. Your body lifts. The texture of the movement is not strain or effort, but a deep, satisfying compression in the lats and biceps. Bicep, I know. Lats, I still need to figure out what that is. I don't know. I'll figure it out. It's whatever it is. It has to do with a pull-up, I assume. It's like turning on a well-oiled. It's like turning a well-oiled handle. Right, perfect. The internal experience is one of pure observation, which is what I'm looking for. I don't want to be thinking about exercise, how many reps I have. I just want to be like, oh, that's where my back is, right? Just to feel that, which is kind of what it was like when I was going through that, the weight loss stuff. It was just sort of noticing it happening. I didn't have to make anything happen. It didn't take effort. I just noticed I didn't have the taste for sugar. I've tried to go to places. Andy's is one of my favorite places here in Texas, the little frozen custard place. I haven't been there in forever, and I've tried to go a bunch of times. I just don't have it. When I start getting too close to doing it, I just don't have a taste for it. It's a weird thing. I didn't mentally decide to not do that. It just isn't there. And I'm sure I'll go to Andy's and have ice cream again. It's not that. It's just I definitely don't do as much as I used to. And it's this observation stuff. So that's where my back is. The silence is absolute, save for the slight, brief whoosh of air and the soft groan of the bars mounting. You hit the peak and pause for a half beat, feeling the now this is cool. You hit the peak. It's not telling me you put your chin up against the bar, right? It's not doing that because it has no idea what I'm able to do, which is fine because it's just you just go for your peak, pause half a beat, and then I guess we go back down. The descent is controlled, not a drop. You release the bar and your feet land gently. Your shoulders immediately settling back down into a strong, relaxed posture. And then there's the afterglow. The chemical release is immediate, a microburst of clean, warm energy that sharpens your focus, like a single perfect note played on a piano. There's a rush of oxygen to your brain, got to be helpful. The emotion isn't pride or accomplishment, which sometimes it kind of felt like it was, like, oh, I got to do that, or I'm doing this, or I'm this type of person now, I'll pat myself on the back. And I never really liked that, but it was there. It's a quiet, deep recentering. And this is really what I'm trying to figure out. I think I figured out. Because I am kind of experiencing this, because I do experience that deep recentering in the other ways of life, is like just sort of lets it happen. The internal declaration is a simple, satisfying physical fact. I just claimed back a piece of my body, which I am absolutely going to reference over and over again. Like everything I do, I'm like, just did another one, like just a tiny little piece, like that whole thing before. That's why I like going through both of them. The original one that the leap gives you, and then doing it again if you want sort of reinforcement, which I felt like I wanted here. Because it's that idea of being, 3 ounces denser, right? Kind of thing. I thought that's cool. Like, I just got a little bit was there. The space around the bar nail feels subtly energized, claimed. You continue your path, the moment already discovered or dissolving, leaving behind a subtle, buoyant tone in your muscles. So the invisible switch, the bar is right there. Purely fact, spatial observation that bypasses the concept of exercise and turns the movement into a simple, natural interaction with the environment. But the reason that works is because of how it was put in, which was there is all this energy, and then the bar's right there. That's what it was hooking in, which is awesome because that's exactly what I want. It's not static and I'm pushing a rock up a hill. It's like there's already movement in there. So I'm already moving when I see that when I'm experiencing the bar. That's why I think that works, but it will be useful. Now, I'm going to do a couple other things because I want to kind of do it for some other exercises. I would love to do the pull-ups. I'm going to do the pull-up one, but how would this relate to things like, I love the idea of the pull-up, but what about a push-up or a sit-up or a squat? Or maybe some other exercise that I'm not even thinking about that would be the best possible exercise for what the intention is that I'm trying to experience. Now it's giving me information. Now this is a regular everyday prompt that you've probably prompted before. Sort of like you're just having a casual conversation. So it's giving me information, right? So excellent follow-up, spontaneous activation. Now the reason it's doing that, again, this is not a gem. This is just regular AI, right? And I didn't give it a latent experience prompt, but I'll show you that trick in a second. Specific exercise principle, accessibility, instant feedback, and low friction initiation, which is perfect. That's what I'm looking for. The experience you're seeking, smooth connection, the microburst of clean energy. The feeling of claiming back crease of the body can be achieved with many movements, but each exercise slightly different trigger and sensory reward. So now it's giving me the pull-up, which we talked about already. Here's the push-up. Interesting. So the lowest friction was the pull-up, which I would not have thought, but I guess it's because you see the bar. There you are. And then there's the push-up. Requires dropping to the floor, a slight mental hurdle. Put the home base is in the hands. Okay. It's about maintaining perfect stiff plank. The smooth connections felt in the core. Okay, so that's the push-up. All right. So this is good information. But that sucks for me because I don't want to think about all this crap. And I'm not going to be opening up a spreadsheet and remembering any of this stuff. So I'm kind of skipping it already. And here's what we're going to do. This is excellent. And this response was useful, but I wonder if it could be improved in its usefulness because it seemed to deliver me a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, a lot of cognitive load and things that I had to think about. I think it's useful, but it feels more like it was a description of an experience instead of the actual experience itself. So as you are actually going back through that response and as you experience it in a way that is highly likely to be the most obviously useful way for me to actually experience, please respond with what is highly likely to be the most obviously useful experience for me to experience as the response. Now I'm going to have it do experiential. So let's see. The first response is direct knowledge about the experience to create cognitive load. The goal is to deliver, which basically is just a fancy word of AI saying makes you think too much. The goal is to deliver direct experience itself, bypassing thought and engaging pure sensation, which is exactly right. So the most useful response is a list of options, low friction pathway. Since the squat has the absolute lowest setup friction, so now it's going to go be an experience through one of them, which is fine because it takes a little bit, but it's worth it, right? Zero setup, zero equipment, no floor needed. That's great. And I probably could use some leg work anyway, so I'm good with that. The instant reset, single squat. You're standing, maybe holding your coffee, your mind mildly engaged with the screen or a conversation. So here's a little 15 seconds, which is nice because I just be like really quick. It's dramatically slowing down what's going on, but I'm going to experience this. So the first couple seconds, the focus drops below my shoulders. You notice the texture of the floor beneath my feet. The thought is a purely physical curiosity. Is my foundation solid right now? So instead of like, I see the bar kind of thing, or the bar's right there, it's like, is my foundation solid? So without moving your head, your hips unlock. The movement begins not by trying to squat, but by a sudden effortless softening in your knees, a small, subtle sit back. The movement, you descend to a comfortable half depth. The sensation is not effort, but warm, fluid tracking. Which again, not jerking, stuff like that, so we're not hurting the body, hopefully. Again, not health advice, so I'm going to be doing this. You should not follow along. You feel the deep, smooth compression of your ankles, knees, and hips, well-oiled pistons sliding home. The internal dialogue is a simple, silent affirmation of alignment. The sound of air being slowly, silently pressed out. Completion. And this is it's the first time I've had it really talk, instead of saying like, Oh, you hear the birds in the background. Using auditory sensations, kind of the first time I've actually heard it described in that way. Onomatopoeia, is that what that is? You reverse the motion. So completion, reversing the motion. Your ascent is driven by a smooth, quiet push into the floor, not a strain. You arrive back at the stand, instantly settling into a perfect balanced posture. Then there's the afterglow, the microburst of clean, deep warmth right in the center of your body. The lower half feels suddenly heavy and rooted, while your upper body feels light and aligned above it. The feeling is not one of exertion, but of simple fundamental truth. My body is easy to use right now. Which is how cool is this when you're exercising to be thinking stuff like that? My body's easy to use right now. I just got a little bit lighter. I just got a little bit, a little more dense, a little more muscle. That's a good way to exercise. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one last little thing because I want to do it. I'm going to go back to the pull up itself. As I experience the pull up, can you experience what is highly likely to be the most obviously useful experience for me to experience in great detail so that I know I'm doing a pull up in the most proper way, the most efficient way, the most useful way in all the areas. Like I want to make sure I'm not accidentally hurting myself. So I want to make sure that the right muscles are being felt, that the right sounds are in place if that's a thing, the right feelings and sensations are there. And I want to be, have that experience so that I know that I'm doing this properly, as opposed to, like how do I hold my arms, like all that sort of stuff. I'm not quite sure. Is this something that I just sort of jump into and try, or is there a specific flow that I should most likely would be the most obviously useful experience? At this point, if you can experience the description of an experience I just gave and then reply back with what is highly likely to be the most obviously useful experience as an experience. So that's me just saying, get in there, loop it around, pull back out, all that stuff where I basically just said, I have no idea what I need, but I need something else. Give me something else that's useful. I don't know what I don't know. Please tell me the thing that is obviously the thing that you know I don't know. That's what I'm telling it. That's the pattern. Safety conscious approach. Yay me. So spontaneous and perfect. Okay. So now we're going to go through the single perfect pull-up. This is so that I can experience it here. Your foundational strength to execute at least one repetition. I do. You cannot complete a pull-up. The most useful is active hang, which I love that. Okay. So here's the activation. Body turns out a verbal command. So the hands reach up, grabbing the bar just outside. Shoulder width, palms facing away, which is overhand. Okay. That's good to know. So this or that, right? How we're doing it. So overhand. Squeeze the bar. Firm, solid connection. It feels like your hands are trying to crush the metal. Okay, that's good. Let your body hang with full straight arms, but not loose. Pull your shoulders down. So let your body hang with fully straight arms, but not loose because you don't want to, I guess, you pull your shoulders out. Pull your shoulders down away from your ears. Feel the tension immediately lock in your lats, the sides of your back. Now it told me what my lats are. Yay. Okay, now I know the lats are side of my back. So that's, all right, cool. So there's the ascent. So that makes sense. I get that. And I like the idea of pull your shoulders down away from your ears. Because when you're doing this, that's how you, because if I didn't do that, it would kind of jerk it up like that. It would probably hurt. But that seems to lock them in a way. That's cool. And again, lock into your lats. That's why the sides of your back. So it's using the right muscle at that point. That's what it's doing. Okay. Which again, I can experience in my body, right? Maybe you're amazing at this and you're like, of course that's how it works, but I don't know that, right? So that's kind of what, now I have that experience. So I can actually do this stuff in my own life. Whereas an hour ago I couldn't. Or at least it was going to be a lot harder. So now we're going up. So do not think pull up, which is exactly what I do right now. Instead, feel your elbows driving down toward your back jean pockets. The sensation is one of a powerful immediate compression in the sides of your back and under your armpits. Okay. As you rise, I've never done that before. This is why I love this stuff though, because this is the point of this. Most of us aren't doing the things that are the most useful versions of whatever we're doing in our lives. And we're just not taking our time to work with AI to say, hey, could you do me a favor and fill in the blanks? At least we're trying to do that. But we keep asking AI to fill in blanks with these problems we have, and you can't do it that way. You have to do it this way. We have to do it with latent experience prompting. You have to do it with patterns. And getting the AI. This is all the stuff that I'm doing. I know it sounds weird to talk to it like this, but this is why I get these responses that are actually useful. And things I would never have known to even ask for, ever. But now it just anticipates it and it knows like, oh, this is the most obviously useful based on your current state because it knows my experience because I gave it that pattern. Then it fires back. This is so scientific. This is not woo in any way. And it's 100% like I know it's going to do this. This is what I mean by operating the AI. I'm basically calling the shots, going, okay, it's going to be here, and now I should be doing this in about 45 seconds. And then it does that. I'm like, that's how you use AI. You should be able to predict it. If you can't predict what your AI is about to do, you're not using it correctly. Or actually, I should say you are probably using it and you're not operating it at all. So that's what the operator part is here. So as you rise, and this is what I mean by here's what I think is going to happen. Did it happen, right? In that way. And if I didn't, then I'm not operating it correctly. That's maybe the operation step I should make sure that everyone's being aware of here. As you rise, your body stands one perfectly rigid unit. So tense your stomach and squeeze your glutes, the butt muscles, okay? Your chin passes cleanly over the bar, yay me. Pause for a microsecond. The feeling is a powerful squeeze between the shoulder blades and the bottom of your lats, okay? And then there's the descent. Lower yourself slowly, resisting gravity. The feeling is of the same back muscle stretching with control. Count 2 seconds on the way down. So now I know so when it says lower yourself slowly, my thinking was, well, how slow? 2 seconds all the way down. 1001, 1002. Return to the active hang position, shoulders away from the ears. Release the bar. A sudden vertical surge of clean energy. The feeling is one of vertical stability. Your spine is taller. Your shoulders are wide and settled. The thought is, I just claim my power. Yeah. And then if you can't do it, here's a backup, which is also cool, but I can do that. So I'm good with that. And I can do the same thing with a setup. I'm sure I will. A push-up, I'm sure I will. Squat, I'm sure I will. So actually, what I'll just show you how you can do it. So now I'm going to say same, but for a squat. Now this is a prompt that basically it's going to go back to the pattern. When I said same, I'm like same pattern, same way, same style, same everything. Just flip out the noun, right? So instead of the pull up, now it's going to be for a squat. That's how fast this is. So because I've got the pattern. So guess what it's going to do? It's going to give me this entire thing and say, here's your feet, spine, and shoulder, blah, blah, blah. How smooth are my hinges? Now it's needed back with the hips unlocking, the fluid warm pressure, the inner thighs. There's a hip unlock. And then I can get the entire experience. I can go through the exact same cycle and get this part of it. But that's it. So I don't want to go too far on these. I know I'm going a little long, but I'm trying to explain these. And honestly, I use them for my own AI training data to pull out what is actually working with all this stuff and then crystallize it. This stuff is being taught at Automated with .tech. I'm going to kick that off in November, so a couple of weeks from now, where I'm building out the community on the back end already, and then we'll activate everything. So those of you that are in there now, again, it's a little boring. I apologize, but it is the friends and family experience. So only friends and family will put up with that mess that's back there. It is technically functional. You can leave posts. I'm back there too. But it's just not a lot. There's not a lot back on. There will be. And now's probably a really good time if you are at all interested in doing this to lock in a membership. And that is the biggest hint I'm going to give. Because at a certain point, there just won't be free anymore. There will always be a free version, but not everything will always be free. Friends and family are uniquely different. And anyway, just trust me. If you're interested in learning this stuff, Automated with .tech. Do that as soon as you can. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them into the comments. You can obviously subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. Just don't do it because you want more content from me, though I think that's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Do it because you're giving YouTube a signal that says more people need to have this experience. This is a useful experience. It was a useful content. It was useful video. It gives me thinking in a different way. Maybe it's getting you excited about trying new things with AI in weird ways that you've never thought. Because this technique works in a lot of different ways. So hopefully it's giving you something to think about. If it is, subscribe, like, share, post in the comments, do a lot of fun stuff that you do. And I will look forward to seeing you on another live stream soon. Thanks again, and we will see you next time on This Is Your Mind in AI. Take care.